Science! Let's do some science! And as any good scientist will tell you, there's only one way to do science.
Like a madman. Today, you are learning with the mad scientist Peter.
Saigon, 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 Saigon.
Help. I wish to eat, but it has no roots. And I wish to make more, but I don't know how. Maybe I can figure this out. Let's grow some more plants. So what is our experiment actually going to be about? Well, it's going to be about taking these plants and regrowing them. See, all plants have roots, but vegetables in particular are actually able to regrow their roots, as they would naturally be able to in the wild.
You see, roots grow on every plant, but usually what happens is that we'll rip up the plant whole or cut it off about midway, making the roots kind of pointless. And the plant isn't able to regrow without its leaves and roots attached to each other via their main structure, much like how a tree works. So our experiment today is going to see what plants can regrow their roots and the best way to achieve that. So, the things we will need for this experiment are a cutting board, a knife, a plastic cup or more, regular onion, other root vegetables are possible, and of course, our goggles and apron so we can stay safe and clean. Alright, that's not going to work. Okay, so our steps are pretty simple for this experiment. What we're going to do is we're going to get any normal rooting vegetable or root vegetable from our local grocer or farmer, and then we're going to peel it and prep it with a couple small cuts or removing of some excess layers. And then we're going to place it inside a cup. We're going to fill that cup with water, and then we're going to leave that in a room temperature area that is exposed to a lot of light and has plenty of air. And we're going to make sure to clean the water every now and then. We want to make sure that over the next couple of days, as the vegetable takes root, we are going to drain any excess or drain any miscolored water. We're going to refill it with fresh water, and we're going to make sure we rotate it along that bright area or along that lit area near a window or so. And then we're just going to let it rest for a couple of days, and then eventually roots will start to form. And we have that option at this point. We can grow the plant in some soil. So here you can see our final result. After about 2 weeks in the water, these chives that I gathered earlier, have already begun to root, and I can plant them at this point in some soil. I did the same with some celery, but I think I did it wrong because it's not looking good. Let me show you. As you can see, it's like missing layers and it's gotten all brown and mushy. I think it might be because I didn't suspend it and you so the roots weren't able to really grow. You can see that there are some roots, a couple of roots in there, but either I didn't give this enough space to grow, or there was something wrong with the celery to begin with. I know what I did wrong with the celery. You're supposed to cut it in half before you put it in the water. I forgot that part. Also, yeah, you are supposed to suspend it. It's all coming back to me now. I can't believe I didn't do this. Okay. Aha, it worked that time. Okay. So, like I said, these are the things you're going to need, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing to know before we do this is whether or not the plant itself is actually still alive. As you can see, these are still green, but you hear that crunch? Yeah, these chives died. They're very dead. This onion, on the other hand, because it's such a well-rooting vegetable, a very hearty vegetable, it's still alive, actually, technically speaking. See, that's one of the things about vegetables, and why they're so nutritious and good for you, is that they're actually technically alive. Once you've peeled it, then you want to cut off about an inch, maybe 2, from the rooting part. You want to try and make a solid cut all the way down. And that's how we cut our onion. So next step is getting our plastic cup, fill it with water, and place our onion in it in just the right way. Let me show you. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So I didn't mention the toothpicks earlier because you may not need them. If you have a shallow enough dish, or a wide enough dish, or a narrow enough dish, you can just plop the onion on top and let the roots sit in the water. If you don't, and you made the mistake that I did, and you did not get a shallow enough glass or a shallow enough container that you could float or suspend the onion inside of it, then yeah, you're going to need toothpicks, you're going to need to stab it, and then you're going to need to... There we go. So I might add just a touch more water. But all we're doing right now is that, basically. We got our onion suspended into the water, and over time, you might see the next week or so, the onion will start to grow roots. And just to uphold tradition, no. How does this work, though? There's plants, but I can't say chop down a tree and then put that in water and expect that to grow. So what can I grow? And does it have to be a vegetable, or can it be any kind of plant? Well, there's a couple of answers to that, and I think the best way to show you is to show you. Woo. All right, so why can't we say do this with any other kind of plant? Like, why can't I just take a leaf and put that in some water? Well, part of that has to do with the fact that a leaf isn't actually attached to the root itself. A leaf isn't a rooting thing. These are some rooting vegetables, or root vegetables. Onions, potatoes, carrots, those are root vegetables. Celery's more of a stalk vegetable. Instead of eating the bulb or the roots of the vegetable, you're eating the trunk of the vegetable. Let me show you an example. See, a plant's got different sections to it. There's the root, there's the trunk, there are branches, and then there's the foliage. And each part of this plant is helpful to the plant actually growing. The plant can't grow without the roots, the plant can't grow without the trunk, the plants can't grow without branches, the plant can't grow without any leaves. Each of these serve a function. The roots absorb nutrients and minerals and water from the ground. The leaves absorb sunlight and some water, bringing energy to the tree. The branches serve the function of creating more leaves, and allowing those leaves to spread over a very large area, thus allowing the plant to absorb more light and absorbing more nutrients. And the trunk, it serves the function of keeping the whole plant together, and in a way is like a heart of the tree. See, without the trunk connecting all these parts, none of them work alone. But that's not exactly true of some plants. See, some plants, you can start with the roots, like our onions. And some plants, you can actually grow from the bottom down, like a wandering Jew. So, by putting our plant in the water is getting absorbed up the roots. And that is bringing nutrients and the water that the plant needs to grow into the plant. It goes throughout the whole plant. Like how humans have their own circulatory system, so do plants. And that's why I'm wearing goggles, so that way I don't cry from cutting the onion. So, I didn't show you how to do this because all you really have to do is just dump these in there. You can remove a couple of layers. I also removed a couple of the roots to allow new roots to grow. And like I said with the celery, what I did wrong and why it didn't grow is that what you're supposed to do with celery is take it, chop it low to the bulb, and also suspend it in water. And let me tell you, I feel silly for not doing that before. So, that's how we do it, but why do we do it? Well, there's a couple of reasons. For the chives in particular, putting them in water will make them last a long time, keeping them fresher longer. The same can be true with other vegetables. If you keep them in water for a longer period of time, or just keeping them in water for a couple of days, they will stay fresh, they will not wilt. Same can be true of flowers even. Putting them in water is going to keep them alive longer. But we also learned that we don't have to use up the entire plant. When I'm cutting onions to make myself dinner, I don't have to get rid of the roots. I can chop off the roots and put them in water, and I can grow my own onion and have that later. Growing my own garden is something I quite enjoy, and doing this is something I always like to do. That way I don't have to spend money on more groceries, and I get fresher, better ingredients this way. So to recap, what we did for our experiment today was got some onions and other plants, cut them in an appropriate way so as to suspend them in water, keep them alive and fresh for a long period of time, and with our onion and our chives in particular, we are now able to replant them, allowing us to continue to get more onions and chives later in our own home, in our own garden, and not have to pay for more plants. So, if we are able to do that, we should be able to do that with other things, other plants. Pumpkin seeds, for instance, and squash seeds and other gourds, you can just scoop them out and throw them in the nearest bog and they'll get plants again. Onions, you can just toss around. Daylilies, you rip those out of the ground, the bulb's still there, throw them into a random yard, and they're going to get daylilies for the rest of their lives. Now, if you'll excuse me, that eating this onion was disgusting, and I got sick from it. So, don't do it. Not again. Ha 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 ha.